images here that we will we'll take a look at.
Hey-o.
Critique.
So the first, I mean, unfortunately, the thing that jumps at me is that severe halo around. Now, again, is this as a result of tone mapping, or is this a result of he tone mapped it and he brought it into stylize? I suspect this is from tone mapping, because that's a typical thing that would happen.
It'd be either way.
Either way, to me, I don't find much of it. So, are we critiquing? You want to critique the image or the processing?
Well, I think both, because that's HDR is both. So, I would say I kind of like it, except for it's slightly phallic.
Sure, slightly.
It's got a phallic nature to it. I'd love to see this building on one side or the other.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you love phallic nature.
Oh gosh, is that a beach ball on top? But no, I mean overall, as far as processing goes, if you had done one image on one layer for the sky, and then done another image on another layer for the building here, and then just went in and selected the two of them, I'd like this much more.
I think I agree with you 100% there, and that would have been an easy blend.
And to me, this is one of those cases where HDR, and let's take it, because I don't know if he did a single exposure, he bracketed. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care if you used tone mapping. I don't care if you used Nick HDR effects or Photomatics or merged to HDR, or he used a filter in Topaz. We're just going to call it the effect. This is one of those cases where I think it helps. I think this would have been a very ordinary image without it, and I think it's kind of got a cool
think he could have
phallic drama to it now.
Okay, this is a good point. Let's take a look at this image. This image, I would wager that image doesn't even need to be at all tone mapped, anything, because look at it. It's clearly the entire sky is covered. It looks like it's flat light. It doesn't look like there are any hot spots or dappled light.
No, but it gave him the effect.
Yeah, but
HDR is what made whatever tool he used is what gave him his clouds to look like this. His clouds didn't look like that coming out of the camera.
Right, but you could have. I suspect you could have gotten that look out of a single exposure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I said I don't care if he. Overall, I don't care if he did 3 exposures or 1. That's why this is where you and I disagree. But I think HDR is relegated to the effect.
Yeah, the HDR, the HDR, the tone mapping, that should not have gotten you. You should not have gotten to that result from tone mapping, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you wouldn't need it.
No, it should. If you tone map that, and you could have, it would have been a much flatter image. If you brought the shadows out, brought the exposure up a bit, that's where you would have.
Yeah.
So
if I could do one quick thing to just, this has nothing to do with HDR, I would do that.
Yeah, just to even out the foreground.
Just take a graduated filter from the bottom.
Yep.
Just to.
Yep.
You don't want that anyway.
I would actually crop. To me, the lawn in the front there. There's a lot of empty space.
Yeah. Just make it more phallic.
Yeah. Well, that was a good lawn.
All right.
That right there is a winner.
That's some powerful processing. It's like a painting.
Yep.
So if that's what you're going for, I would venture to say most people will look at this and say, that's bad HDR. But I would also venture to say most non-photographers would look at it and say, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
That's a neat photo.
Absolutely.
So photographers will look at it and say bad HDR. I think most non-photographers will look at it and say, it looks like a painting. That's pretty cool.
And that's,
So I would say as far as if you're looking for that type of an effect, I would say I kind of like it. I don't care for black clouds. I would hold off a little bit on the effect in the black clouds because I like the whole. I
like the detail of the hull. Yeah.
So if we're talking HDR, compared to the HDR that you do, the HDR that RC does, I'd say they're two totally different things.
I agree 100%.
But it's still, like I said, I think a lot of people just think it's a cool looking photo. Again, I think halos around the cross. So that's the first thing you just have to get rid of.
You know what the thing is? I love the I love the shot. I mean, leading lines going from the bottom left through the frame. Got the anchor with the cross over there. Sky is crazy. You've got you've got color shifts in the sky. And I'm not talking about the gradient from blue to yellow. I'm talking about from right to left. There's some funkiness going on there. And then you've got this top center that turns to black, like he's going to space. So this is just a matter of saturation and probably detail contrast.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, and this is on the overdone side, whether or not he used 3 exposures or 1 exposure or whatever, it's on the overdone side.
Yep.
I would say most photographers would look at it and say, eek. And I'd say most people would look at it and say, that looks pretty cool. I would love it if all these tracks were gone, but
I'd also love it if that one patch of dirty snow next to the tracks, it's just kind of like, I don't know what's casting that shadow right there.
Anyway, so they're telling us we have to take a break. So we will take a very quick break, and we will be right back with more HDR critiques and love from Brian Matias.
And cupcakes.